Konnichiwa, minasan. So today we are going to learn our kanji. Well, actually, I introduced them yesterday on the blog, but today I'm going to take you through them one by one and maybe give you some pointers on how to remember them and how to write them and that sort of thing. All right, let's start with the first one. This one right here. This one means small or little, as in size. So this one is small or little, as in size. So a small thing, a little thing. It also can be used to represent elementary school because it's the first kanji in elementary school. So if you see it by itself and something related to school, it's probably an elementary school. And so it's just basically 3 drops. You have a drop in the middle and a drop on each side. Drops are small things, so maybe that's something you can think of as little small drops of water. Pretty easy to write, pretty easy to remember, I think. Here's a bonus kanji that I didn't include. So it's got an extra little drop on it. This one means a little bit, as in an amount. So this one is small, as in size, and this one is a little bit, as in amount. And this is actually the kanji that's used for skoshi. And so if I just write a shi after it, then we have skoshi. Skoshi, as in a little bit. Alright, our next kanji is this one right here. So basically we write mouth first, and then we draw a single vertical line through it. And this one means in or inside or middle. I'm gonna move my light so hopefully you can see better. Without the shadow of my hand. There we go. Maybe. Alright, and so the way I think of this one is you've got basically a hole and you have someone trying to put a stick inside it. Again, this one I don't think is super hard to remember. Just like this one, this is what's used in the kanji for middle school, and so it can represent middle school as well. There's a fun little kanji that I guess is kind of connected to this one. If you do 2 mouths, one on top of the other, and then try to put a stick through it, this one actually means shish kebab, and it's pronounced kushi. So if you go to a restaurant and you ask for a kushi, you're gonna get meat on a stick, basically. So that's kushi, kushiniku, kushiyaki, something like that. And basically it just looks like that. Alright, next we have this kanji. And we're just kind of moving our way up in sizes. And so this one means big or large. And it's super easy to write. You do your horizontal line first, and then the other 2 lines. But if we draw it the other way, we see that we actually have the kanji for person. And now we have this horizontal kanji. So my story for this one is basically thinking of a person now stretching the arms out saying, I caught a fish that's this big. And then and that helps it mean large or big. Alright, so for this one, we're going to actually skip to university. So that's the largest school. And so that's what this one represents, is university. And we do get a couple extra. You saw those already on the blog and on my website. There are 2 additional kanji that we're going to get with this by just adding a little drop. So one is that one. That's dog. And the other is that one. And that one means plump or fat or thick. I'm not sure I have great stories for these, so I'll leave it up to you to try to come up with how you can go from this kanji, which means big or large, to this kanji, which means dog, by just adding a drop there on top, and this one by adding a drop down there on bottom. These are pretty good to know, and so I'm asking you to definitely learn dog and plump as well, whereas these, we don't necessarily need them a lot for our class. All right, so now we're going to move to this one, which means tall. It also is the kanji that represents high school, which makes kind of sense, right? High, tall. It does actually mean high as well, and it also means expensive, like high price. So it's all connected, tall, high, and expensive. This one is a little more complicated, but it's still not too bad. First we have a top hat, and we have a mouth, then we have a hood, and we have another mouth. Top hat, mouth, hood, mouth. Top hat, mouth, hood, mouth. So this one's a little interesting. So my story is actually a little funny. So I imagine little kids, like you see in cartoons sometimes, little kids trying to pretend that they're an adult so they can do something that they're not supposed to. And what do? They often sit on each other's shoulders to make themselves tall, and the bottom one will cover themselves so you can't see them, like with a hood, and the top one might wear a disguise like a top hat to make themselves look like an adult. And so this is my image with the whole kanji. You have the mouth on bottom, the little kid, covered with a hood, the mouth on top trying to be the adult with a top hat. And so that's how I remembered this kanji to begin with, and now it's just, it flows out of my pen and I don't have to think about it. That one's tall. And it also represents high school. This one doesn't really have any additional kanji, so we're just going to move on to the next one. This one right here. This one means early. And basically we have sun and 10. Sun, 10. Sun and 10. You'll see that sometimes when I write, lines don't exactly touch, and then sometimes they do. When you're doing handwriting, it doesn't matter too much if they touch, but there are certain things that you do need to watch out for. If you want to see someone who does really exact and perfect writing, you can go on YouTube and just search up these kanji in Japanese, and you usually can find some videos pretty easily. But if you get it pretty close, most people are going to be able to read. If you ever want me to evaluate your writing, just take a picture of it and send it to me, and I can give you some feedback and see if it's looking okay and readable or not. Alright, so as I said, we draw sun and then 10. And so my story for this one is 10 o'clock on a Sunday is too early. Let me sleep in. As a picture, this kind of looks like a flower, and so you can also think of a flower opening early in the morning. Whatever it might help you with. Alright, we got two more kanji. They get a little complex looking. This one right here we're going to take and put over here. This one means study. So to help us understand this one or make a good story for it, I need to tell you about this. So for me, so that's going to show up, that element is going to show up in other kanji. And something that can be helpful is when you notice, hey, there's something that's going to show up in multiple kanji, maybe give that thing a meaning or an image to go with it. So that once you learn the shape, which is two drops facing that way, another drop facing that way, and then a roof of some sort, or a crown. Once you learn that shape, then it makes it easier if you have an image or a story to go with it when you add it to other kanji. So this one always appears on top. And so the story I have for this one is schoolhouse, or a schoolhouse roof, the school roof. And so what I think of are some pigeons sitting on top of the school roof, like you might see in a movie or something. Alright, and so then if we put it all together, now we've got a school roof on top of a child, because that's the kanji for child by itself. So we have child, and then we have a school roof on the child. So what does the student, or what does a child do in the school? They study. All right. So that one's not too hard, and definitely if you continue your study of Japanese, you're going to see this kanji appear multiple times, and it's helpful to have the meaning of school roof because it makes the stories a lot easier to form. All right, now we got our last kanji right here, which is really complex, and this basically means school. It can also have the meaning of examination, but for our purposes, we're only going to need it to mean school. And basically, we're going to be able to combine it with these and this to have the full meaning of school at these different levels. All right, so let's break this kanji down a little bit. So we have a couple things we've seen before. First, we have tree. Then we have a top hat, or we have the number 6, or we have dad. So since this one leaves something of like by itself, we're just going to ignore 6, or I'm going to ignore 6. If you want to create a story with 6, go for it. But if we look at it, then we've got the top hat on top, and then we have dad on the bottom. Now this gives us actually a bonus kanji. It's not one that we need at all for our lessons for level 2 Japanese. But this is an actual kanji by itself that means something like mingle. And so my story for that one is basically when dad wants to mingle with the bigwigs in town, he's going to put on his top hat. And so that kind of might help you build your story if you know that. But we can leave that aside for now. All right, so to write school, we've got a tree, we've got a top hat, and we've got dad. Again, we've got tree, top hat, and dad, or tree and mingle. There we go. Now this one, it's a little difficult to turn into school. How do we make it mean school when it's just a tree and top hat and dad? Maybe you can imagine in the olden days, school happened outside in the shade of a tree, and dad would put on his top hat and tell stories to the kids. Whatever you think can make it work for you, or just brute force memorize it, force it in your brain. Do what you need. Alright, so now let's put these together into some combinations. Let me check the time. It's about 14 minutes. Okay. Alright, so to do elementary school, we're going to do little, study, school. And we get shogakko. Shogakko. So what happens is normally the reading, the onyomi for this kanji is gaku, gaku. But when it hits this one, which is ko, then we have two K's near each other, gaku ko. And so that changes that into a chisaitsu, gakko. Instead of saying gakuko, we say gakko. Alright, and the same thing is going to happen with these other levels as well. We're going to move on to middle school. Middle study school. And that's going to be chu gakko. Chu gakko. Alright, let's bring this one down and go to high school. This one we are not going to use the gaku. Instead, we're going to move right to the ko. And so, this one, this onyomi is actually the same onyomi as this one, which is why we end up with ko, 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 ko. And then last, we're going to move on to university. And this one, strangely, uses the other kanji. And so we're going to put that there, and we do not use ko. So this one is just dai gaku. Sorry, I got a little crunch down there. Dai gaku. I find the book including this one a little strange. It just means early. So for this one, if we add i, now we've got hayai to mean early, or you can put a ku there, hayaku, for fast, to do something fast. And there are some other combinations which you saw on the website. I'm just showing you some of the major ones related to school. You can also take off this ko and put sei, so shogaku sei for the student. So there's a few different combinations with these kanji and kanji we've studied previously. So make your way through the lists on Quizlet and do some practice there, and it's going to show you all that you need in terms of, or to be successful in my class. Good luck with your studies. Send me any questions you might have.